Peace and wisdom, wise solid speaking. All praises to the horizon. This is the smirk of Wusid. It's sacred. Practice your own. This is mine. In any event, this afternoon, I want to do this deep video for the youth. Not just the youth. Let's say the people 50 and under. 50 is the new 21. Most people hit 50, then they start thinking in their adult minds. Up until this point, they don't deal with trousers, slacks, hard. Like I said, this is the smirk of Wusid. When you see this smirk, it's about to get good. Now I want to do this deep video explaining mice and mazes, the psychology behind it. Can I get a sound check before I begin? Subscribe to the channel. Thumb me. Subscribe to the channel, thumb me. Visit the website wiseservant.org. Now I want to do this video explaining the psychology behind the mice's maze in the city's grid system, because it's one and the same. Peace and wisdom, Victor Gold, Tiffany Yella, K.O. West, question. If y'all have any questions, y'all can ask. I'm going to be taking a nap soon, because I'm big Wusid. You should get familiar with saying things like that too, whatever your name is. People say, why you do this? Be like, because I'm, you say it with ego, because I'm big Wusid. Like, it's deep. In any event. Let's get to the deep content. You have a mice's maze. Most people are the common-minded person. They view the mice's maze as a psychology to see if the mice can escape the maze. And this is one aspect of that research. Now, before I continue with this, the first thing I want to say is this. Whenever you see mices, when bunny rabbit experiments, it's for humans. You already know that. Again, if you see mice experiments, bunny rabbits, pigs being experimented on, it's the precursor before they do it to people. If you're lost, just look into science. Like, they experiment on mice before they, I'm not sure why they do this. Well, I am, but I don't feel like getting into that. But I'm just giving you guys reference that this video is going to be deep. Pay attention. There's deep things happening to y'all minds on a psychological level. Some people are really strong. Some people are really wise. Look at it like that. If a person is really strong, try to fathom the damage they can do to you if they physically want to inflict pain on you. Now, you gotta put the same perspective to those who are mentally advanced or strong. Try to fathom what they could do to you on a mental level. See, most people are barbaric, so they can't fathom that aspect. They say, can't nobody make me do something I don't want to. The mind is deep and knows that's strong-minded. They have the tricks of the trades of the mind and how to, make a person do what they want. Manipulation is basically mental force. You physically beat somebody up, force them to do what you want. on the mental level, so you get my point? Manipulation will be that, like mental bullying or mental force. Now let's get to the grid system and the mice's maze. Like I said, to the common person, the mice's maze, it has to do with seeing how long it takes the mice to get out of the maze, or if the mice can even get out of it. That's one aspect of the psychology. Sometimes they'll add food to the maze. The mice will go into the maze, become familiar with the maze, start storing food in different parts of the maze. I'll say that again. They start to get familiar with the maze. They start to store food in certain areas of the maze, or gather all the pieces of food into one area, but not the area that they found it in. You get it? But they don't take it out the maze. Meaning once the mice gets familiar with the maze, they're not concerned with leaving it. They can do that whenever they want. But there's treats in the maze. And so now they play with the treats. They move the treats around, stash it here, there. They're not concerned with leaving the maze. They already know that. This is another aspect of the mice's maze. Meaning studying the mice and how they move and become accustomed to this maze. When there's reward added to the maze and the mice become familiar with the maze, they become bound and stuck in the maze by their own will now. First you put the mice in the mice cannot find its way out. It's in panic mode. It does, eventually. When it finds its way out, being as though the way the mice's mind works, it remembers all the mistakes, so it remembers the whole pattern of the maze now. And so once it frees itself from it, it can go right back in it, and it will find its way right back out. So it's not worried about the maze anymore. Now there's treats in the maze. The mice goes in the maze, starts storing treats all around the maze, never leaving the maze. The maze is the spot, baby. It's treats there. Ain't nothing on the outside of it. You gotta scavenge there. Inside the maze, it's already there for them. They become bound to the maze in the pattern of the maze. They start to look at everything outside of the maze as null and void, not important. You start adding more rats to the maze, they will start to make a community what they need to leave the maze for. And so when you study the psychology of the maze and how it works with mice, then this is applied to people. So you start to make a city grid system. Before this, all you have is the forest. A person can get lost in the forest. You can't keep track of everything in the forest because there's no grid system. You have to become familiar with the forest. This big rock is right there. That tree is there. This is how you know your direction. Once they start to build a city grid system, we become like mice in the maze. Y'all do not want to leave the maze because there's food there. And y'all steal it. And you store it here. Meaning you rob this person, rob that bank. You bring your earnings back here. You sell your dope, you do whatever you do, you bring your earnings back. You get my point? You work your job, whatever you do, you become familiar with the grid system like the mice in the maze. You have no desire to leave outside of the grid system because there's nothing outside of it in the perspective of the mice in the maze or the person in this perspective. Meaning this psychology was done on people after it was done on mice. See, first generation out the forest into the city grid, they want out. Bring your mind back to the beginnings of the buildings of America. So now you got your first grid pattern or your first grid system. Slaves is trying to escape out of there. You get it? Over time, they have children born into that system or that grid pattern. They're familiar with the grid pattern, not necessarily what's outside of it. So imagine if the mice had babies inside the maze. The babies were born in the maze. They familiar with the maze, not the outside of it. They don't even know that there is an outside of it or would care because they was born in the maze. The parent mice, they know outside of the maze, but psychologically, they become familiar with the maze. Same with people. First generation, they want to leave out of the Babylons and cities. They look at everything in it as evil and the devil. Over time, the generations after them, not so much. They become kind of bound to the grid system. Meaning outside of y'all city blocks, let's say you live in Chicago, so you know all the city blocks. Let's say you live in LA, so you know all the city blocks. You say, I'm from 5-5, Crip. And the next dude is from 5-6. You know the blocks. You take one of these people and you say, okay, I'm going to take you out to the mountainside or forest side. They ain't necessarily going to want to go because they're not familiar. There's no grid system. The mind becomes bound to the maze. If there's no maze, we don't view it as, okay, this is free. Y'all view it kind of subconsciously like, I'm going to get lost out there. What's out? You get it? Ain't nothing outside of, I need my city blocks. So it becomes a deep thing. This psychology, like I said, is applied on mice first. And then it's situated, it's pushed off on people. So the grid system that y'all live in is more than just, I don't want y'all to look at it like there's experiments happening on y'all. The experiments happen on the mice. The doing happen on the people. Like, whatever the grid system, the mice's maze was for the mice was an experiment. They don't care about bounding mice. Who cares? Who collects rats? Nobody. So you got to have a mind and know, okay, they have a mice maze. They're playing with mice. But no one's looking to trap mice. Who would care that? That's dumb. And so what are they doing that for? What are they observing the mice in the maze for? Because I know they ain't doing it just so they can trap mice. And trying to trap something else. People. The city grid system is no different than the mice's maze. Look at the thumbnail. Go to my channel. The community section. You'll see the difference. You'll see the clear similarities. You got many different kinds of mice mazes. You have many different kinds of city grids. But you get my point? The minds become bound to the maze or the grid system. You say, that nigga who said be tripping. You know me, baby. I just be chilling in the cut. Next thing you know, big, long swords just going. I'm sorry. I'm a little disturbed. I'm a little bit crazy, but that's just a little bit. 7 grams worth. 7 grams out of a key worth of crazy. So this is nothing. This is good. This is good balance. Don't worry about it. Now, where was I at? Where was I at? In Terrio. Okay. I was going to say, Terrio, say something. Say something so I know you're not trolling. But I know you're not. Shalom, shalom. I just looked. I took a quick glimpse. Peace and wisdom, Potteru. Make sure you acknowledge the wise one first before you get to the chat, you know. They're not important because I'm the who said. I just stopped bothering y'all. I enjoy it so much. Like, did anybody screenshot that part or like re-edit that part out? Make like Silas videos? Look at Silas ego. You don't need me to do it again, I will. I don't mind. Salam, shalom, Potteru. I'm going to do it again, so if you want to take a screenshot or edit this part, you can. Potteru, when you come in, this is the smirk of Wusir, so start my videos with the smirk of Wusir. It's like you did something but no one knows yet. So you're like, now when you come in here, brother, it's coming. So get your screenshot of it. You address Big Uzi first, you know, before you get to the trap. Why? Because I'm Big Uzi. You know. It's all about me. Now, peace and wisdom, Texas in the house. Oh, Terrio, peace and wisdom, champ. Now let's get back to the mice in the maze. The city grid system plays a psychological game on you guys. It bounds the mind. The same way I explained to you guys how the zodiac bounds y'all mind. So y'all have like a calendar. It has days, weeks, months. These are patterns. You get my point? In 7 days of the week, y'all have a pattern that, you know, y'all work 5, do whatever y'all do for the 2. It creates a pattern, meaning y'all become bound to schedule and the pattern. When you're dealing with the mind, you can't attack it physically. So you have to attack it like what a mind is, which is like airs. So you have to come up with scenarios. So if I can get you to fall into weekly system where you understand the calendar in the days of the weeks, the months. If I can get you to fall into that pattern, because of course indigenous men in the forest, they know nothing of our calendar. They follow the stars. They know the day that way, meaning they know what time of the day it is from looking at the position of the sun. When the sun is straight over your head, it's noon. When you see it first rising, you get it? It's morning. The time in between, you will know from the position of it. We don't look up above. It's not hard. I mean, most of y'all probably look at that like, nah, that's hard. It's easy. You know when the sun is right above you. You know when it's kind of cocked off to the side a little bit. So that's like in between noon and morning. Pick a time. 9, 10. Like that. Who needs to know the exact moment of the day? That's stupid. You get my point? Hell are you doing? Just sitting still, waiting. You get my point? But so like a clock and things like that put us on that foolish time, and that we don't enjoy the day. Like children, they don't ever know what time it is. You tell them to come in the house at whatever time you tell them, then they always come late. Or they always running around asking somebody, what time is it? You get it? Because they don't care about time. They doing what they need to do, which is enjoy their life. Adults get lost into the patterns, you know, weeks, months, seconds of the day. They will take it as far as they need to bound their own mind. But you get my point? Once you place those scenarios on the mind, then that becomes more real to the mind than the freedom, than the mind just having freedom away from it. If y'all wasn't bound to these cycles of time, y'all will move forward. You get my point? Meaning y'all will have more experience. The mind, you know how you guys think to do things, then you don't? You know how you guys will think to do things, but then you may not do it because you say I have things to do this week. Meaning you already have a schedule that you live by weekly. 7 day, this is a pattern. You were like a mandala for the mind though. Kind of hypnotize it and bound it into its pattern. Months, these are patterns as well. 30-day cycles. They're patterns though for the mind to kind of fall into. Now, if y'all were free from these patterns, y'all will move forward. Like I said, when y'all think of things to do, there's a resistance because of the pattern. Meaning y'all already have a pattern or weekly. Y'all already have the week already situated, scheduled for the self. And so if I say, let's do this, let's do that, the mind is not free to say, yeah, let's do it. I have to create good experiences, good memories. And so any opportunity to do a thing, that's positive or it ain't bad. This is going forward. We don't view it as we bound, meaning if you lost into the pattern of the week, you don't view it as the mind being bound. You get it? Y'all give up many opportunities not realizing it or even looking at these things as opportunity because you're bound to the pattern. And so you say, well, I got other things to do. But these other things you have to do, you're going to do them. You did them already yesterday and the day before that. It's called your job or whatever you do every day. And you did it already. You did it yesterday, the day before that. You want to do it. You get my point? And so I'm just trying to get you guys to grasp. You see how the pattern coincides with the work? Because that's what the pattern's truly for. Meaning before y'all had a work schedule, or before indigenous men in the forest was civilized and was forced to work, they had to learn things like tradition and how to do the job. But before you can even get a job, you got to be a part of the society. You get my point? And so the society going to have its traditions, its weekly schedule, whatever. This is to secure the work. You get my point? The same way y'all have like mortgages. So the city works how it works, the system works how it works. Y'all can apply for a loan. Getting a little warm. Y'all can apply for a loan, get a house, 30-year mortgage. That 30-year mortgage is going to keep you bound to your work for an additional 30 years because now you have to pay off that mortgage. So everything is in line how it is to complement the next thing. The zodiac complements the work. You get it? The slavery, so to say. And everything else is patterned to complement y'all being, bounded to a grid. Whether it be a mental one, we speaking of work week, things like that, or whether it be y'all city grids. Some of y'all don't have that much of a life, but you still bound to your neighborhood and the blocks and shit. And you don't do nothing. You don't go nowhere outside of it. It wouldn't matter where you go because you don't have nothing to do anyway. But for some reason, you feel like, if I leave my neighborhood, I'm going to miss something. Now, again, you have no life. You don't do shit in the neighborhood anyway. You don't even wake up and go to work. You just get the fuck up every day. Go outside, chill in the neighborhood. The point I'm making is not to make you feel bad. It's to get you to see you can do that anywhere. If you broke, man, you got the glory. Because you can be broke anywhere. What would it matter at that point? You see the pride, how the pride can work? The broke person got more pride than the rich person. But it's because they got more insecurities. So y'all become broke, y'all become insecure. Then y'all have hella pride. Now I say again, if you broke in your own neighborhood, they all know you. That's embarrassing a little bit. But that don't matter. You could be broke. Shame on them for judging. But I'm just giving you a perspective. You broke in the neighborhood, they all know you. If you broke somewhere else, they don't know you, so what does it matter? In that, go have it. When you're broke, now you get to go have experiences. You get it? When nomads was traveling back in the day, it's because they was broke. Wherever they lived at, it was scarce, so now they had to scavenge. So, you get my point? It make for what it need to make for. So kind of grasp. Peace and wisdom, Terrio. It's in the description. I have to take a nap. It's a deep thing. But let me finish this up. If you click the description, all my links is in there. That's the little arrow next to the title. He asked for the cash app. For those of y'all that do give back and I miss it, thank you in advance. Now let me do this right quick and then finish. Peace and wisdom, Tario. Now, like I said, when you're dealing with the Mises maze or the city grid system, same psychology. Bound y'all to patterns. I know I missed something. I was saying something else, but so this happens. If any of you guys remember, y'all can re-bring it up. Now, you have these many different patterns, many different things to complement one another to lock and bound y'all in psychologically to y'all places, meaning small areas. Small areas, it makes the perspective small like the area, meaning it makes the mind become small, meaning the Mises maze or the city grid system doesn't just affect the physical, where you kind of just become familiar with your blocks or your grid, but the mind becomes bound in, confined in the same way. This is what curriculum does. It makes y'all kind of bound to a pattern, seeing a thing a specific way. You get my point? Let's say you say Silas got a teardrop on his eye or whatever, kind of gangster. There's more to me than that. Any fool could see that. But you just bound to that one piece of the pattern, you get my point? It's like that. When you're dealing with curriculum or anything that got to do with, the sorcery of the psyche that they put on y'all, is to bound the self, the mind, spirit, in the vessel. I apologize. I know y'all like me. We ain't clock in here to watch you type, brother. Get to work. Listen, I'm tired, so this is my excuse. Don't worry about it. I'm big see. I can do whatever I want. Watch your mouth. Now, where was I at? Grid systems. We were speaking of grid systems and Mises. So, I kind of lost my train of thought. I know what I'm talking about in regards to the video, though, but the exact place. But there's something more important I want to say anyway, so this is good. Now, whatever you got from the Mises and Maze, let me break down the psychology of it. The main thing is this. All these sorceries or psychological attacks, they for the dumbing down of the mind. Y'all, Like I said, it's for the dumbing down of the mind. When I say dumb, I mean the restricting. The same way a maze restricts the mice or the city grid system restricts the person once they become familiar with it mentally and how it binds and traps and they feel kind of out of place outside of their grid system or city. And if they can't have that, any grid, get it? Meaning, y'all need some kind of grid to kind of navigate y'all way around. Otherwise, y'all start to feel lost. Put y'all in the forest outside of the city. You get it? Y'all don't view that as y'all freedom. Y'all become accustomed to the grid and the patterns and all the, you get it? Everything is patterns. And so this is how you bind a thing or control a thing. You get it? If I make the maze, I put you in it, I control your movements. You could feel like you're in control and say, no, I decide which way I go. It wouldn't matter. You're in my maze. Every way you can go, I made it. Wherever the maze leads is because I made the maze. You can't dictate what the maze do to you. You get it? You can't say just because you in the maze and you can go this way or that way, oh, I got free will of what I do. No, you don't. You live in your city grid system, and yeah, you can make a left or right and all that's beautiful, but those who made the grid system or the maze, they make it where you can make a left or right. You got the choice, but they made the choices. That part. And so if I make a mice's maze, that come first. I control what choices the mice even get to make, which is everything. You get my point? Y'all make choices and this is beautiful, but sometimes y'all say, man, these choices is the same. Like, some choices seem like they got the same effed up results. It's because of that. Whoever's controlling the choices, I apologize. Give me a second. There you go. Out of mindset, the architect. Whoever's the architect of the grid, the maze, or the pattern of the mind, they in control of what's truly happening. And so, if you lost, kind of use this video to grasp how deep you in terms of when you in the city, the psychological attacks they do to y'all outside of the physical ones. We be lost on the physical ones, but the psychological ones, they far more worse. So kind of be mindful of that. Meaning, things seem harmless, that's not. And so if you grasp everything I was saying in this video, it go to even deeper extremes, but try to grasp. Now I want to say this one last thing before I slide out. I'll come back later, give y'all a full deep one. Peace and wisdom out of mindset. Get off movies, champ. It's the real channel. Y'all got to get off that. It's not make-believe world. If the only thing you can use as reference is movie, that part. Movies is based on reality. Just like belief ain't truth. Truth is truth. Belief is some retarded thing. A movie not never good for a reference. Once you lose sight of that, you have a problem. Again, a movie ain't real. So to use it as a reference, however you want to view it, and that's for anyone. You could say no, but it's a good analogy. All that's beautiful, but why don't you have any real life reference? That part. The mind going into fiction. So it's deeper than y'all just watching these movies and things. Y'all bring it into y'all mind. It becomes more than truth, real reference, etc., etc. To the point when, you know, the brother said not as the movie, just their matrix is the grid system. Got all of that from the movie. Now you're trying to justify that. And so let's not get lost in stupidity. You got that word matrix from the movie. Peace and wisdom. I'm glad you grasp. About to flick your own mind in a second. You say like, no, I'm talking about the matrix in the... Now you playing games on your own mind. That's how lie works. And so, what I'm telling you for your own good. Don't never use movies, cartoons, none of these things as reference. Reference got to do with truth. If I'm breaking something down and I give you a reference, you can't lose sight that the reference got to be the thing to make whatever you explaining like, oh yeah, that's the truth. You see how I break down things, then I give you real life reference? I'll give you biblical reference, whatever I think you might be lost in, but I give you real life reference to seal a deal. I rarely use movie reference because that's just stupid. You get my point? Movie based on all the reality around y'all. And so kind of grasp. There you go, out of mindset. The reference is the truth. If the reference is a movie, so grasp what I mean when I say y'all lost in a lie and belief, which is the same thing. Salam, salam, Dennis G. Learn, stop skipping and flopping ahead and all of this weird stuff. When I say things, apply it to the self. If you measure up to what's said, get your brain together. You get my point? And so a lot of y'all still have a flip-flopping around, boy your mind around. You think that's going to help you get wise. Makes you stupid. I don't really want nothing to do with it. Learn not to flip-flop around. Learn to apply to the self what's theory, belief, and all these things is not truths. That way you can have a proper perspective. I say that because you asking me something about something I said, but your perspective is all retarded. You get it? I could tell from the question. So, kind of grasp. Latashian Cochran said, I just moved to a different state and felt out of place for a while until I learned the grid. Yeah, I can dig that. Use that as reference to what I just said about how the grid is almost like a drug. Y'all become bound to it. Y'all start to feel like y'all lose yourselves if y'all ain't got no grid pattern to follow. It carries over into people. Y'all look to follow people. Trends is deep. Like I said, one thing complements the other. Now let me say this last quick thing. Like I said, I'll be back later. If you somebody that come from prison, or you been to prison, and you got like a spotlight on you, or you get attention, you famous, whatever. People that come from the streets, prison, whatever the case may be, and get attention, you know how a person say like, I come from the street, or I come from jail, and I changed my life around and look how I made it. So then you become like the ending reward for the bad path, which is not truly the reality. You get my point? Meaning, the kid's gonna see it as that. Okay, I'm breaking the law, I'm doing bad. He was too, he changed his life, and now he good. They not looking at the change the life part. They just looking at the, I'm in the streets. Maybe later I'm gonna be, they not looking at the work and like the part. You get it? That part ain't, shit don't mean nothing to a kid. They just looking at the moments. Okay, you was like me. You say when you was younger you was a gangster. Now you this. For them, it's like, okay, so being in the streets and being a gangster is like college for like the end. You get my point? It becomes like a reward for the bad thing. And so the point I'm making is, if you somebody like that, be mindful of how you word those kind of things, because we just regurgitate out whatever we hear. And so, like I said, I used to be in the streets, and I made it clear. I said there has to be a space in between. You can't just, you get my point? Go from one thing to the next. There has to be a moment of cleansing the old ways away, so that the new self could be completely what it needs to be. You get my point? But the point I'm making is the gangster life or none of that is not the reason why the people y'all see successful are successful. They successful because when they stopped dealing with that life, that's how they got successful. Meaning them living that life had nothing to do with them being where they at. It's the reason why it took so goddamn long for them to get there. It's not about I came from the streets or I was in jail and I changed my life around. It's about you was in the streets, you was from jail, and that shit is the reason why it took you so long to make something of yourself. That way the kids can grasp that. You out there in them streets, little nigga, you could be something right now. You get it? Whoever you looking at and they successful, you could be that right now when you stop doing that dumb shit you doing, because that's how the person you looking at really got there. They didn't transcend that negative into positive. They stopped doing the negative, kind of let it get off them, and then they was able to rock out. You get my point? And so wherever you act don't matter. Negative things don't transcend. You get my point? We got to get the mind right. Bad things don't become good. Bad things run their course, then you get my point? And so if you're on the wrong track of life, like I said, you could be doing something a lot more better. But it's all perspective. I say this from experience. When I was younger, I used to hear a lot of people would say these types of things, you know. Jay-Z, all of them, they used to sell dope. I was selling dope. So 50 Cent, all these dudes, they was famous. So they say they come from the same place that I was at that moment. Work on the plate right there watching 106 in Park. So it's giving me a perspective, like, I could keep doing this and I could just like do what they do too till they catch on. You get it? I could rap too. But I'm not going to stop selling my dope. I'm just going to rap too until somebody discover me. Then I'll stop. This is the perspective of the youth when they see, like, you get it? Those from the streets kind of say, like, I come from the streets, I changed my life, and blah, 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 blah. They look at it like that. Like, oh, you grinded your way out. They don't look at it like you grinded and you fucked yourself all up till you put yourself in the worst position you could be in, and then you kind of started from scratch, doing the right things, making enough steps towards, you know, doing more of the right things than the wrong things, and then that became the reality. It ain't told like that. It's told like, you know, I was a street person, blah, 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 and I changed my life. But kind of grasp. Yeah, it has to be clean and clear. How the mindset said you be making sense. It's experience. A lot of people don't realize that. They think wisdom just good talk and knowledge and information. Wisdom's y'all experience. When y'all start pulling from y'all experiences, meaning when y'all start learning from y'all bad experiences, taking the lessons from that. Because that's where the lessons at. The good experiences is just the break from the bad lessons, or from the bad experiences, which is lessons. Now, nobody likes school as a kid for the most part. But that's the lessons. You get my point? Like recess. That's just the reward for the lesson. So if you somebody that go through hardships, you're just a person that got many lessons. You should be quite wise. More wise than the person that has more rewards for less lessons. You get my point? And so when you have good times, you should look at it like, you get my point. You earned them. You earned those good times. Going through your bad experiences and viewing it as what it is, just lessons. You got to get your lessons in. If you don't get no bad experiences or hardships, how do you learn? Y'all not gonna learn from the good. Like I said, the good is reward. It ain't about learning. It's about enjoying. Life gonna beat you the fuck up so you can learn. So life ain't worried about that part. You gonna get beat up and stamped on. You don't have to worry about that. It doesn't matter how cute you think you are or how big you can raise your ego. Life gonna beat you up. Field goal, kick you all over. People with big egos, they just know how to hide it real good. They say, I'm big old shit. You can't tell me anything. You get my point? But, so, you have to get to a place where you grasp everything. Keep everything balanced. Keep the mind open. You know, when y'all start enjoying y'all bad times like y'all good ones. So I suppose this when the wisdom start popping out. suppose this when y'all start making the best decisions. Peace and wisdom, mastering the obvious. Now, if y'all have any questions before I slide out, y'all can go ahead and kick them out. I think I'm gonna get me a little rest, well needed. If anybody wants to give back, y'all can click the description arrow. Subscribe to the channel. Thumb me. Anybody wants to have a sword fight, I'm your guy. Hey, we can get this going. If anyone wants to challenge me to a duel, I'm sorry, let me stop bothering y'all. I forgot y'all don't have a sense of humor, y'all. A little cowardly. If y'all have any questions, y'all can ask. If anybody wants to just run up with a sword and say, I want to join you, I'm open to it. I got a little bit of time. Let's see what you got. No, I'm just playing. We don't even live in them times. Y'all retarded. I wouldn't do a sword fight, Solace. Pop, pop, pop. Next thing you know, Big Uzi on the floor with his sword on. Saying, look what they did to me. I'm Big Uzi. These young motherfuckers shot me, man. They have no honor. We were supposed to have a goddamn sword fight and they shot me, man. All praises to the rising. Come and get them. Nah, I'm just playing. Now I gotta call my daughter. Y'all enjoy y'all y'all enjoy y'all afternoon. Big Uzi, like I said, subscribe, thumb me, and all that good stuff. Thank you, Potter Roof, for the give and receive. Salam, shalom.